Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th Inner Fire Women interview. I am so excited. The 8th. It's so wild. I started this a few months ago, and I'm in awe of how it's evolved, and just really grateful for every woman who's shown up and shared their inner fire, and with you, with the community, and hope you're getting a lot out of this. Today we are talking about having a love life with ourselves, which is a topic that touches me immensely because I really stand for that. I believe that it is not a luxury to take time out for connecting with ourselves and loving ourselves. I believe that it's a necessity for our evolution and our well-being. So today, our guest inspires me so much. She is a soul sister, a dear, dear friend. And we are going to talk about implementing rituals and ceremonies into our everyday life with Tinna Sif, and bear with me, Sigurðardóttir. I think I've massacred that, but we'll see. I've been practicing that, but I don't know how it went. But she'll be able to say it way better, obviously. So Tinna's from Iceland, and she is a self-employed yoga and handstand teacher. She is also a Reiki therapist, and she has her own cacao online shop, which we will talk about later on in the interview. It's very exciting for all of you who love cacao but don't know much about it, or how to buy it, or how to make it, into ceremony. Well, Tinna will guide us with that later on. So without further ado, let's welcome Tinna onto the screen. Hi, Tinna.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's really a treat to bring your wisdom and all that you are exploring and discovering through rituals and ceremonies and sharing this with our communities. It's lighting up my fire right now. Very excited. Before we dive in and learn all about your story and how you started doing this, I'd like to give our viewers an idea of the broad strokes that we will touch upon in terms of ceremonies and rituals, like where in our life we can bring those. So we are going to talk about body, so nudity, body care, sacred sexuality, food, breath work, and our moon cycles and the cycle of the moon. So these are all places, not exclusive, but these are broad strokes of where we're going to dive in terms of implementing ceremonies and rituals. Yes. So Tinna, I'd love to know about your experience. So when and why did you start placing all these rituals in these aspects of your life?
So ever since I was a child, this has been an on and off journey since I was a child, but it starts there. And as a very young child, I was always fascinated by magic, and I really thought that I should have been born somewhere in the jungle, and just being like a witch or a shaman there or something. And I was constantly kind of imagining that I would live there and be weaving magic there into my life, because I live in Iceland and I grew up here in a small town, and there's some magic around here, but it's definitely not like living in the jungle or something. And somehow I connected that with, these rituals and ceremonies. And so for a while, I was maybe I was born in the wrong place or something. And I was always trying to practice something on my own, but didn't really have guidance on how to take it forward. So it ended up more as me thinking it was just a wishful thinking that I wanted this and thought I was magical or something. So in my early teens, I started doing Reiki, and I got some guidance on that and practiced Reiki on my co-students at the high school and the elementary school. But then eventually, I just grew up into my teenage years and like felt a little bit weird and like I was not having interest in the same things that the other kids were having. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm not a witch and I don't live in the forest. I'm not a shaman, and or like that's what I told myself. And I'm like, I better just leave this and do what other, kids are doing. So I kind of just left it and went to do other things for a while. And then in my 20s, I came back to it and I just connected. Um, yeah, it's been a journey and like a lot of things on the way. But essentially, I just started to connect back with myself and my roots. And I started to get signs from the universe and like stepping stones that led me to where I am today. So it was like coming back to myself, like I was on this path as a little kid, and I always knew what I was and what I was gonna do here. And then I went off it for a little bit to explore other things, which was a really beautiful learning curve too. And then I came back to this, and yeah, which ended up with me doing a Reiki training and went to school for raw food to become a raw food chef, and have like just implemented a lot of, did a yoga teacher training. And so, yeah, I have involved a lot of magic back into my life.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It really tickles like my inner girl, that one that feels like, for me it was having superpowers, like being
Yeah.
a super woman or super, yeah. And so a superhero or something. So I love the witch, the magic that you speak of, and I can really see how that, like bringing it back, that it has lit you up, like has brought so much to your life. Do you want to talk about the benefits, like how it started coloring your life as you implemented, because you said, like food and Reiki, and I believe you mentioned something about body movement, or so, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it like started again with yoga and like connecting with my body in yoga and doing breath work. And that was just like coming back home to my body and going to classes where there was like where we would do movement of like creative movement. I felt a little bit stuck in my body, like because I didn't have a dance background or something from a young age. So I felt like, if someone would tell me do a squat or do this or that, I could do that super well. But if someone were to say flow freely, I was like, how do I, how do I do that? So I had this like self limit, and which I needed to break off and break out of, like, hey, I can do whatever I want. So that was like a breakthrough moment. And by that, I connected back with like my energetic body and started to work with plants and like doing a plant-based diet, and went to the raw food school and just like studied a lot about food and its effect on the body. So yeah, I work a lot with plants, both like eating with the way how I eat, but also I am a lot out in nature and I work with essential oils. And so plants like I connect with in various ways. And they're one of my greatest teachers. And Where were we again with that?
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah,
So what
oh
I'm
yeah, and then
hearing,
with the energetic body, like that connected me back with being a Reiki therapist. I was like, yes, this was not my imagination. I can actually help people with like blockages in their body. I can help their flow coming back, like I can facilitate that. Like, of course, you need to work with the person who you're with. They need to open up to it too, but I can help with that. So yeah, has felt very empowering. Like, this was not my wishful thinking or some when I was little. Like, this is actually something that is true.
yeah, that you started to really concretely practice in your life. And it sounds
Yeah.
to me like this gathering of different practices has been what's kind of, I don't know, bringing it all together for you. And you said empowerment. So I hear that that's been a real benefit for you, is feeling empowered in your life.
Yeah. And that maybe leads to the ceremonies and rituals, like weaving that into my daily life, because it's not like I woke up one day like, oh my, now I feel empowered and I'm just like ready to be in the world. But it's a practice of every day. It's just like if you're going to be an athlete, like a great football player, or you're going to be an actress or singer, whatever, you have to practice, you have to show up for it. It's not like, of course, some people have like this gift of just being that and not really having to practice. But for a lot of us, we have to practice. So I show up every day for myself and I weave these practices into my life. So I live it and embody it. And that way I'm way better of being able to be of like the higher or greater service to the world.
Mm. Oh, I love that. I show up every day for myself. Like I'm
And
just letting that land. Like
yeah.
that's powerful what you just said. Sorry, keep going.
And no, I just wanted to say that it doesn't mean that you have to like every day just for hours and hours be in that. Of course, it can be great and some days are like that, and it may depend on like where you want to go with that practice. Like, this is the way I live and this is my work as well. So maybe I'll spend more time on it, but you can very easily implement these things in your life with just starting with like 2 minutes a day, like showing up for yourself, doing some kind of a self-care ritual or weaving some ceremony into your life with, yeah, 2 minutes. And like with that, if you commit to that every day, that's gonna eventually become a practice and something that you like really admire to have in your life. Like, it's going to be an essential, like drinking water or going to the bathroom, eating food. Like, these 2 minutes are going to be part of your daily life. And maybe depending on what kind of how your life is right now, maybe you'll try to aim for once a week or every 2 weeks or once a month to have a little more time, like 30 minutes or an hour for you, for your practice.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, because it is a challenge for people, right? To like this idea that we don't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spoke about that before we came, when we went live. You said, like we all take the time to scroll, to look
Yeah.
at Facebook or Instagram or not, but can we take that time and make it sacred for ourselves, that 2 minutes, that 5 minutes that we spend on social media, but instead, could you give an example? I'm really curious about rituals around food.
Yeah.
You know, I tend to not do that. I tend to be, so busy, and then my eating habits are like make food, work while I eat, and unless I'm with my partner, like I normally do that.
Yeah.
So what is it that you do that's ceremonial around your food?
Yeah. I could do like a whole course on this because I have had quite the relationship with food. I was, yeah, so maybe to begin with, like as a kid, I did not do sports. I played the piano, and that was like my thing. And I didn't really find the sports that I wanted to do at that time. So, yeah, it was not a thing for me. But yeah, I was not a fat kid, but like I had a little belly, I guess, just like a kid belly, I think, I wasn't fat. But a lot of the other kids around me, they, were in sports and had like flatter tummies, which I, for some reason, thought looked better. So at a very young age, I became like super conscious of my body and starting to dislike it. And this is a really common thing for people, it seems like, unfortunately and sadly.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I became aware of that, like food might affect your body. So I was like thinking, I just wanted to eat whatever because like it seemed like everyone else was eating whatever and still looking good. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't eat this, or this seems to be unhealthy, and you get all this information from the outside. So I was very confused and kind of stressed around food.
Mm.
And then as a teenager, or like around 20, 18 or 20, I started to train more. And I felt like I wanted to take care of my diet because I was training hard and I was competing and stuff. And yeah, it just felt better when I took care of my diet. But I kept the stress. I was always like stressed. If I was gonna have like a little treat or something, I didn't feel good about it, but I still wanted to have it because it tasted good. So I had this like tension in my abdomen area and like all the way into my chest. And just like looking back at it years later, I'm like, wow, that was because of my stress. And even though I was eating healthy, I just didn't have a good relationship with food. I was
Mm.
afraid of it. I was like afraid of what it might do to me. And all the information out there is so misleading. And you're just like, this is healthy one day, and then it's unhealthy the next day. So, yeah. And um, then I was introduced to breath work. And when I started to do breath work and just allowing it was always like, breathe into your belly. And, I just did that at first. I didn't know what it was going to do. I just did it because they told me to do it. But after a while, I saw that I was like, my abdomen area was starting to relax and just look better than ever before, which was just a plus. But I didn't feel this tiredness and tension in my belly. And I was like, wow. And I'd started to do like a nutrition course where I learned more about food and how to eat in a more like sacred and ceremonial way and
Mm.
like create a better relationship with food. And that together kind of like led me to where I am today. So now, like I used to do diets all the time. Like there was always some kind of restriction in my diet, like don't eat this and don't eat that, just eat this today and not tomorrow. Now I eat mostly plant-based, meaning that I mostly eat plants and like, yeah, which consists of fruits and veggies and nuts, seeds, beans. That's a lot of my diet. But like if I want to, I'll have a piece of some healthy chocolate, or like, I'll eat whatever I want if I want it. But since everything is allowed all the time, I choose more consciously. And after like having experimented so much with food, I know my body pretty well and know what feels good in it and what not. Like what feels like what will make me tired, what will feel my energy like more stagnant or blocked. So yeah, and eating in a more like sacred or ceremonial way means that you consciously choose what you're going to put in your body. Like you don't just pick the next thing out of the fridge or from the jar or whatever and just stick it in your mouth and and eat it and like, okay, I'm full, or I don't know if I'm full, but I want to eat more.
Mm.
But you're like, okay, you choose what you're going to eat. Is this going to be beneficial for my body? And then while you eat, while you cook, right, you might want to put some intention, think about where the food came from,
Mm.
like try to not overcook the body, try not to overcook the food.
Mm.
Try to, like, if you're chopping something, chop it with like care or consciously. Just try to think a little bit more while you're preparing the food and while you eat it. Like, don't be scrolling on your phone. Like, take a little time to give thanks before you eat. Think about where the food came from. If you made it or if someone else made it, like, give thanks that they took the time to do that and put intention in it. And then, smell the food, taste it, and just slow a little bit down while eating. Like, eating is such a sacred act, and yet we do it oftentimes so without thought. Like, we're just completely somewhere else. We're just shoving food into our belly, which means that we're not paying attention if we're hungry or if we're full. We'll just eat whatever and whatever amount. And which often results in making us feeling bad, or our digestive system not being in a good place, or us feeling tired, or
Mhm. Definitely. Wow. I really like, I kind of saw this step by step thing, like it really begins like way before the actual having the food. Like it's like, oh, like you choose what you're gonna put in your on your plate. And
yeah,
then while you're preparing it, there's a whole ceremony around that, like when you prepare it, like to the intention and the gratitude, and then afterwards when you are consuming it, to use the senses and also still be in the gratitude and having that relationship with the food.
yeah,
Whereas yeah, I'll totally admit it, like I don't often do that. I make the food. I'm like, oh, what am I craving right now? Oh, okay, and then I put it, and then I eat and I work, and yeah, I'm sure like those moments of crash in my afternoon, or the like lack of clarity sometimes, definitely has a correlation to what I just took in and didn't
yeah,
digest consciously.
yeah.
Mm.
And it can even start earlier because, like, of course, not all of us are going to have the chance to do it, depending on where we live and just like how our life situation is. But if you can grow your own food, like
Mm.
some people have the chance of growing a lot of their own food, you know?
Mhm.
And for some of us, we can do a little bit, you can do sprouts super easily at your home, just next to your kitchen sink, in a jar, just buy the sprouts or like the seeds, and then sprout them. And then many of us can also grow some kind of herbs or something in the window. And maybe that's just like a part time of the year, but it's just so much more fun, like growing your own food, and it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
You learn about it, you make connections with it, you can talk to it, and and then like cutting the herbs, you can do it consciously and give thanks to the plant for providing, like for growing in your home and
Mm,
providing you nutrition, and like it can go on endlessly, like with the colors, like green herbs, like, okay, please nourish my heart, or the heart chakra, which is green, or you can ask and pray, and
so many different ways of going about it. It's beautiful. I see,
yeah,
like on your
you.
Instagram. Hmm?
And then yeah, just if you're not growing your food, like where you shop your food, like, and then what you shop, and
Oh
so
yeah,
yeah.
all these steps before even having it on your plate. That
Yeah,
being a ritual as well.
exactly.
Yeah, it's something. And I was looking at your Instagram, and it's just like this beautiful collage of all these parts of you that you honor, and that you have rituals around, like the movement stuff, and the food. Like the bowls are just so colorful, the breads, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And like, just, yeah, and the connection with other people, and the nudity, like it's just gorgeous. And we can really see on your Instagram what you pay attention to, what you cater to, in your everyday life, and it's really stunning and inspiring. And I'm curious if you could, because this, I mean, especially around food, I would love to have that habit. And I hear for you, what created that habit was a strong desire to feel healthier. Like you had this aha moment about, connecting to your body, and that food helped you to have, better health, and more vitality. Um, for those of us, I don't know if you can answer this question, but for those of us who don't have these alarms going off, something really extreme with our bodies, because that's normally why we go and try to change something in our lives, is when things don't go
Yeah.
well. But for me, like, I have this wish to have that in my life. Do you have any suggestions about, like, one small action I could take that would kind of open that door? Because it seems like, oh my goodness, I would have to change my whole life. Like, I have to think of where to shop. I have to think of what I'm going to put. Like, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It can seem like a little overwhelming and daunting, and you know please don't feel overwhelmed and daunted and stressed. Like the first act can just be commit to one meal a day that you're going to have some sacredness around it, some ceremony around it. You don't have to do like everything I said, but it's just like seeds for all of you listening to like think about and take what fits you. And maybe you just wanna like shop in a more sacred way, but the other stuff doesn't like resonate with you right now. Maybe you just wanna eat a little more, like in a more ceremonial way. So I'd say just start small. Like this has been a long journey for me. Like, and for some people, yeah, they can just like switch it around right away. But for most of us, we need a little time with it. So I would say start small. Just start with like one act. Maybe choosing one meal a day that you're gonna, give gratitude before you eat. Even just that. Like stop before you eat with the plate in front of you and just like thank you. Even if you just say that, you had a little moment, of thought. If you want to say something else or think about where it came from or whatever, great. But like just saying thank you before your food
Oh,
is a moment. And that takes you like 1 second.
I absolutely love that.
So yeah. And what was I going to say? No, it slipped. So I'll get
It'll
back
come
if I
back.
remember.
Definitely. I feel like we talked about having the ritual done a little bit later in the interview, but I feel it really like vibrant right now that maybe we could share the self-care ritual and then talk about it after
Yeah.
with our community. How do you feel about that? Yeah?
Yeah. Sounds
Great.
great.
So Tinna did something so incredible. She created a self-care ritual, a step-by-step for us. So I will place it onto the screen here, share it with you, and I'll also share the document in the comments later so that you can have access to it, maybe print it or copy it, so it's easier when you do want to go and practice this. So I'm going to give it over to Tinna so she can explain to us this wonderful ritual.
Yeah. So, this ritual might take you like minimum of 10 minutes, I'd say. But you can also just do like one part of it or something, and that will take you maybe like 3 to 5 minutes. And of course, if you have more time, that's great. But so the first step would be to prepare the space that you're gonna be in. And maybe you want to smudge it, or you just want to place like the thing you're going to sit on. If you're sitting on a chair, get the chair, or if you're sitting on a bolster, maybe you have some kind of a rug or that you want to sit on. And if you have any like items that you'd like to have with you during this ritual, take them. Might be a statue, a plant, maybe you have a candle, something like that. So set up a little, space. This does you do not have to go and buy anything for this, Just create a little moment for you. So you set that up, and then you want to sit down and in a comfortable position, maybe cross-legged or on your knees, depending on what's comfortable for you. Yeah, maybe not on your knees because you'll have to have access to your feet later. Anyways, and get a comfortable seat. And just to ground, I like to do a little breath work because sometimes when we sit down, our mind is like, oh, I have to do this or that. And it's running around. And I feel like it's super grounding for me to do a little breath work. And I have a simple one for you, which is just 4 rounds. And this takes literally less than 2 minutes. And you can do anywhere during the day. Like if you don't have time to set up a space, but you need grounding during the day, like just wherever you're at, you can just stand and do these breaths or sit down and you will feel better afterwards. So it's 4 rounds and you'll inhale for 4 and just count in your head. And then you hold the breath in for 7. And I recommend while you hold the breath in, don't be like squeezing. And if it's challenging for you to hold it in for 7, just hold it in shorter. Just hold it in for 4. Hold it in. Imagine that all the air, all the oxygen that you just breathe in is flowing to every cell of your body, nourishing it. And then you exhale out slowly for 8. And if there's anything that you need to get rid of, feel free to let that go with your exhale. And then for 3 more rounds, you breathe in 4, hold 7, exhale for 8. And you just count in your head the whole time. And with these 4 rounds, you should feel a little more rooted. Then, if you have essential oils, I love to work with essential oils. And just make sure that you get quality ones. You can connect with me if you need any guidance on essential oils. Pick an essential oil of your choice, and you want to place 1 drop at the bottom of each of your foot. And just maybe with your thumbs, That's a really nice one. Just press into the bottom of your feet. And you don't have to be a massage therapist to do this. Like, there's no specific technique. Massage a little bit with your thumbs, or just hold your feet and grab them a little bit. Feel and experiment what feels good to you. How do your feet want to be touched? So create this relationship. There's a lot of nerve ends in the bottom of the feet. And like, if you go into reflexology, there's a lot of studies about like that it connects to the organs and different parts of the bodies. You can read up on that if you're interested. But just stimulate the feet. By that, you're stimulating flow and connectivity to your body. So give your feet some love. And most people love having their feet touched. So it's a good way to create some relationship with yourself. After that, and this can take however long you want, then you want to think of your intention. And maybe this is an intention for the day, for the week, for the month. It can be something that you've been working with for a while. Doesn't matter. Think of your intention. And an intention doesn't have to be complicated. It can be like, I'm going to drink 1 cup of water a day, like, going to remember that. Or, I'm going to move my body or go outside, or I'm going to smile today or give someone a compliment. It can be whatever. So think of your intention. And then if you have a cup, maybe of cacao or tea, maybe some quality tea that you're working with, take that cup, have a handy cup here, and just place it in front of your face and smell it. First, just take a deep breath in through your nose and smell that. And just allow yourself to feel that smell and let it just go through your body, what it's bringing to you. And depending on if you're working with tea or cacao, like thinking about what this medicine can bring you. Then you'll have a sip and let it, be for a moment in your mouth, taste it, and then allow it to go into your stomach. And thinking of your intention at the same time, maybe. And if you have time, take a moment, closing your eyes, meditating, and ending it with putting your hands in prayer pose and giving thanks. Yeah.
Oh wow. I'm so like, just you explaining the ritual, I'm all like zen, and I like slowed down. I'm just I have tea here and I'm like, tea.
Yeah.
Oh, the bergamot.
Yeah.
Speaking of essential oils, I love putting essential oils in my tea, like the bergamot essential oil, because it's really good for the nervous system.
Yeah.
I add it to my Earl Grey tea. But yeah, wow, Tinna, thank you so much. Like that's very generous of you. Like this beautiful ritual that our communities, like the women can, and men, if there are men watching, of course. I mean, this is for everyone to take home and try it out and tweak it, to their, like you said, like listen to what you like, to what you need. And it's so, thank you. Thank you for, wow, I'm really touched. So I want to know, because you're talking about the feet, and then I was like, oh yeah, body, and then I started thinking of nudity and rituals that I'm starting to do, because I do the mirror work, which you probably know about, and my community knows about, that I use that for my self-care and rituals. And one thing I've been doing is standing in front of the mirror naked and saying to myself, affirmations. And right now I started with, I'm willing to learn to love you fully as you age, you know? And because that is a big thing for me right now is my body's going to change, and I want to love it every step of the way.
Yeah.
For you, I've seen that we've talked a bit about it when we connect, and that being nude in nature is something that's really important to you. Do you want to talk about that a bit? What the rituals are for you around that?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, I didn't have the like best relationship with food um, and with my body. Like I didn't like the way my body looked, and was always like restricting it because I wanted it to look a certain way, but usually like it would just like never look the way that I wanted it to. And after I created like a better relationship with food, my body just looked better. It was less stressed. It was like, whew, okay, I'm happy we're done with this. Like now I'm just gonna, and it became more of what I wanted it to be. And
Mm,
I don't know if that will be like the story for everyone, but it just felt so good that my body would relax. And so I love my body way more now, like in my 30s, than I did in my 20s. And, I can see it's different than then, but it's just like gorgeous. And it's such a, my, it really is. My body is my temple, I have to take care of it. And so I started to like admire it way more. And yeah, I used to like really dislike my body up to the extent that I would preferably not undress because I just couldn't handle seeing my body. I was
mm,
just like, I am grossed out by this body. So I just didn't want to see it. And preferably had like some white clothing on, and just so I didn't have to deal with the thoughts of how badly it looked. And yeah, then a part of the practice, like after that, I love my body now way more and have made way more of a sacred relationship with my body, was to take the clothes off and be with myself naked without any judgment. And if there was anything that wasn't maybe how I wanted it to be or whatever, just like thinking about that, okay, I have a healthy body right now. Like there's nothing wrong. And even if there is anything wrong somewhere, to still pay attention to that area. Like I have gone through periods where I have had like serious conditions on my body and had like serious disconnection to that part of the body because it was in so much pain and irritation. And it's not going to help to disconnect. It
mm,
may help for a little bit, but essentially you are all of your, like you live in all of your body. if, unless you're going to cut some part off. So like you have to pay some attention to it. So yeah, to start to connect to all of my body without judgment, whatever was going on, and just be with it.
mm,
And I felt like being naked in nature was part of like coming out. I'm like, okay, I'm not just, in a dark room with myself, like, okay, I kind of like this body. I guess I can admit it. To be out in the nature was more like, hello, Mother Earth. Like, thank you. And thank you for creating me. And, thank you for holding me.
mm,
I don't know. It was just kind of like opening and this deeper step into acceptance. I wasn't behind any curtains, just with myself, but I was out there, and like I didn't have to have like any other people watching. It's not like that, you know. But just be out under the sky, like sitting in the grass naked, or sitting in the moss, soft moss, bathing nature naked in the river or in the ocean, just letting nature kind of like just touch all of me, see all of me. And like I work a lot with plants, and this just felt like such a deepening of a connection with that, you know.
It's so beautiful. I resonate with you when you say that, like in nature, like the movement you were doing was like this expansion, this opening up, this.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that because I remember the first time I went skinny dipping by myself. Like it was the first time I was completely naked in nature and also by myself. And I went in the water, and it was like this aha moment. I was like, what? What should like this is so natural and so
Yeah.
enjoyable, and I
Yeah.
feel alive, and like there's something vibrant and powerful about being nude in nature.
Yeah. And it's
Completely.
like interesting, like we may be used to like being naked in our bathroom before we take a shower or something.
Mm.
And like even the first times, like in nature, like taking all of your clothes off for the first time, even though there's no one that will see you there, or maybe just your partner, and like you feel a little like, whew, you know. But it is this just, then you experience this expansion, you know, like, and just being held by
Mm.
nature, by Mother Earth.
So well said. We have comments here that I think Janice, there's a line on her name, so I don't know if I'm saying, I believe it's her. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it says love it. And Jacob says goddess, which I second that for sure. You're definitely, in my eyes, a goddess. And
And
so,
so are you. We're all goddesses.
so well said. I really honor your courage to face all these parts of you, like the struggle that you had around food and around your body, and all the steps that you've taken to transform that. Like that, I feel that needs to be acknowledged. It's what makes you, for me, an inner fire woman, who makes you like empowered and embodied and self-expressed and just like totally showing up in your leadership in this world. And I recognize it from everything that you've shared. And yeah, it's amazing. So thank you for showing up like that in the world.
And with that, with these words from you, it came back to me what I was going to say earlier, is that please, everyone, like on this path, whatever path you're on, don't be afraid of, like, just because you didn't do your practice today, you didn't remember it, or you like ate not in a thoughtful way, or like whatever your practice is, whatever you're like incorporating in your life, don't, just because you didn't do it today, or you did it not in the what you consider the right way or something, don't give up. Like continue. Just continue to show up. We're like, none of us is perfect, and that's the beauty. Like even though I talk about all these ceremonies and rituals and live and embody that as much as I can, I still have days where I like may not want to do it, or I get caught up in something else, and maybe I eat something where I think afterwards like, was that a good idea? And like, I'm not gonna, sometimes I just want to like, oh, I suck, and I'm not living what I want to live, or speaking, walking my talk. But it was just one moment, like it doesn't cover up for my whole life. And even though you have a period where you don't do your practices, it doesn't mean that your core changed. You can still be the person that you want to be and live the life that you want to live. Just start again, like pick up with your practice and continue. Start implementing it again, you know.
So
So
good. Nugget of the day, self-compassion is number one ceremony or ritual to implement in our lives. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I'm so glad that it came back to you, because we're human, right? Life is cyclical, and all sorts of things happen. We are not always like consistent and linear in how we approach our lives. So I like very much what you're saying.
And unfortunately, a lot of us like more to limit ourselves than just empower ourselves. So let's be done with that. Let's be everything that we are and came here to do, you know, support each other in that.
Yeah. Magic fingers. I totally agree with that. I want to know what your go-to is when things get hard. What's your like number one ritual that I mean, I don't know if there is a number one, but if, which one do you lean towards the most when you get, let's say, derailed somehow or things are difficult? What's your go-to?
I would say breath work is my go-to because it's super effective and it's simple. It doesn't have to take a long time. Sometimes it's just like a deep inhale and exhale, and that's all there is to it. But I know, like, I've learned and studied a lot of different types of breath work. So, like, I have some different ways to do it. So, just depending on the situation and where I am, like, depends on what I'll do. So that's definitely my go-to. But then it's also like depends on what the situation is, you know. Like I love sitting with a ceremonial cup of cacao, and that really like ignites my fire. And you know, if I need a little more like tingle in my body and happiness and just like, you know, get my fire creativity going, I'll definitely do a cup of cacao. And then I'll use the essential oils a lot too, like, and they have so many qualities, and I have a wide variety of essential oils depending on just the moment, you know. Stress away. If I'm feeling stressed, if I'm needing more courage, I have a blend that, you know, supports that. If I need refreshing, I'll maybe use peppermint. If I need soothing, do lavender or cedarwood, or, you know. So yes, I'd say these are my go-to. And if I need to like just really get something out of my system, I need to do a good workout or handstand practice or do a good shaking dance, you know. So.
Oh, I know all about that. A good shaking dance.
Yeah. And then actually like if I can't move and I'm just like in kind of a stagnant state, I also love to go into the kitchen and cook or create something there. Just like be with myself, maybe listening to a good podcast or something, and just prepare something nutritious and creative with like quality ingredients.
Yeah, that's very nurturing, very, very loving. So, which one lights your fire? I think you named it, but I would like to hear it again.
Cacao definitely lights my fire. That's like, whew, okay, I'm ready for this life, you know. And yeah, that's part of the reason, like my husband and I, we opened this online web shop with ceremonial cacao from all over the world. And we are just like so excited to introduce people to cacao and, you know, supply people with cacao. A lot of people also have experiment with it. So yeah, and we have a blog on our website where we talk about like different recipes, rituals or ceremonies that you can do with it, and you know, all sorts of ideas about the ceremonial cacao. And maybe like for those who don't know what ceremonial cacao is, so it is like it's pure cacao before, so you know the cocoa powder that you might bake with or something like that. So that is like the more processed version of cacao. Cacao still contains the cacao butter, which is a really good fat that will help you to get all the vitamins and nutrients that pure cacao has to offer. So you have the like cacao bean, and they're how do you say it in English? Like kind of like crushed into a mass, so it's gonna form a block, and that is the cacao, the ceremonial cacao. And if you take that process further and take the cacao butter away from it, that will result in the powder that you see in the stores that many people bake with. But that will also like lack a lot of the nutrients, and it's processed way more, and a lot of it like contains sugar or something that we don't necessarily want in our body. So the ceremonial cacao is like a way less processed product and way healthier for you, and has a lot of like has a lot of spirit in it.
Oh,
And yeah, there are all sorts of like, it contains a lot of magnesium, calcium, zinc. It will release like serotonin and dopamine in your body, and anandamide, which is known as the bliss chemical. So it can support you feeling better, feeling happier, feeling more alive and creative. So it has a lot of benefits to it. And it has just been tremendously helpful for me. I love including it in my morning practice, and it just like helps me to go more positive and focused throughout the day, and has really like supported my creativity, I feel like.
wow. Is this something that if you take it, you know, every day, that you feel less of the benefits or the impact or do you know, like, do you take it regularly or is it more just
I think it might be personal, but for me, like that has not been my experience. But I have like periods, like maybe I'll have days where I'll have it like every day, then maybe I'll take a break, and sometimes I'll just have it once a week or something. So it's not, you know, I don't always do it like consistently day after day. And so yeah, sometimes I have a few days in a row that I'll do it, and then sometimes there's a little longer in between. But it's just such a beautiful medicine. It's so delicious, and you can prepare it in so many ways. And if you need any ideas, we have some.
Yeah, I love this blog. Like, that's wonderful that you have a blog that talks about different recipes and that people can reach out to you if they have questions. I know it makes a great Christmas gift. I am definitely getting some for a
Yeah.
special someone in my life. Watch this show. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
oh,
a beautiful Christmas gift. And we'll be releasing a blog today or tomorrow with like ideas how you can give it. Of course, you can give the full blog, which is beautiful. We have beautiful packaging. And if you're giving, like if you'd like to buy one block but give it to a few person, just like chop it up, put it in jars and send it with a lovely note or a recipe along or something, you know. It's such a beautiful and nourishing gift, you know. So
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great idea. Now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna order some more so I can give some to my friends. I didn't even think of that, of like breaking it down and giving, because it's a pretty big block, you know? And when
yeah,
it's
we have like the 500 grams up to a kilo blocks. So like, you know, if you, of course, some would appreciate to get the whole block, but if you'd like to divide it up, it's like perfect. It's so cute to put it in a lovely jar and, you
yeah,
know, put some
that's
nice
like
notes with it.
such a great idea. I love it. And I just put the website there so that people can start to go and check it out while we chat, because it's such a stunning website too. I mean, the moment I just popped on it, I was like, my mouth started salivating, you know, like,
Oh,
oh my goodness, I'm gonna order all of this. It's so
yeah.
good. Incredible. And I also want to share your Instagram, because that is a visual delight. Like it's just, you know, as I mentioned before, the food, I mean, the pictures of these bowls and the bread, and I'm just, it makes me want to do that. Like it inspires me tremendously. And then your pictures of acrobatics and doing some acro yoga, or the nudity in nature, and all of this, and even the essential oils. You have a video about essential oils there, and so that, yeah, our community can go there as a resource to get inspired and to connect with you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, be welcome to connect with me on Instagram, and that's where I share a lot of my what I'm doing. And yeah.
Incredible. That's so great. So before we complete, we're like going overtime today, but there's just so much goodness to be shared. You are taking a witch course. I mean, this is your dream, right? You've been wanting to be, I mean, your dream, you are a witch and you wanted to develop this, all these skills that you have, and dive into it more. Can you tell me, like, what what is it to be a witch? Like, what are you discovering? What's the thing that, yeah, that lights you up about being a witch in this course?
It truly feels like coming home, you know,
Mm,
because like I said in the beginning of this talk between us, is that I always felt it, like I always visualized it as a little kid. And then just thinking that I was misplaced or that I was in a past life or something. But then now later in life, discovering like, no, this is who I am and this is what I can be, you know. So to be part of this now is just like, it's so beautiful to connect with other women who are on the same path and feel supported by them, and just like strengthening our or empowering our magic and our offerings, because you can be, there are a lot of different witches, you know. Some may be focused on like being a kitchen witch, while others are more in astrology and others are in energy healing, or you know, there's a lot of different ways that you embody it, you know. So I'm just feeling so much more empowered and um, and strong in like being me, and just yeah, offering my offerings to the world. You know, it's not gonna just be kept inside, but it's gonna be offered to the world. You know,
mm.
so
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's meant the world.
Ah,
Super empowering.
I really love that we are in a period of history where you can openly say, I am a witch and this is how I embody it. And this is me coming into the world in my leadership.
Yes.
witch,
Yeah.
that to me, like I'm getting shivers just saying it, because not so long ago, this would not have been welcomed or accepted.
No. And that's what we have to recognize, that we live in such a special time now. Like, just my parents like wouldn't have been able to just like, hey, I'm gonna do a witch course now, or like that would have been just like, what? You have to just do your regular job and like stop this. So
And
it's very powerful times that we're living. And yeah, we need to support each other on this journey, because like it's not a competition. Like all of us are allowed to shine, and all of us can be everything that we want to be. And we just deserve to be lifted up by each other, because we're not going to dim each other's lights.
it's a perfect note. We'll end on that. That's just so gorgeous. Thank you, Tinna. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
showing up the way you do. Thank you for doing this, for your time, your presence, your wisdom. All of it is just so, it's a real a treasure. It really is. And for me, you are dismantling this idea that witches are evil and green, and that they're actually these like vibrant beings that bring so much good into the world. So thank you for shining your light and stepping into your inner fire. And for being my friend, for being in my life. I feel so grateful. Thank you, love.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for seeing me and, affirming me with coming here and having this conversation with you. That is so, means the world.
Anytime. Really, it was an honor. All right, love. Sending you a big hug.
You too. Love you.
Love
Thank you,
you.
everyone, for listening.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm just like, what a treat, right? I mean, Tinna's so unique, and there's this powerful softness to her. I don't know how else to say it, but to me, it fills me right up, and I love being in her presence and everything that she has to offer. So if you want to know more about her, reach out to her. There's the Instagram here, the cacao, if you want to know more about what she offers in terms of the cacao, and read up on the blog and all that. And I want to end with a prayer that I wrote before starting, because I like to start the interview from a place of heart and of prayer. And so my prayer to everyone is that may you offer yourself the gift of time. And may this time be filled with loving moments with yourself. And may you know that rituals and ceremonies are not a luxury. They are a necessity to our evolution, to your evolution and your well-being. Thank you so much for watching. If you have thought of someone that you believe that would get so much out of this interview, share it. Please feel free, and love your comments. Keep them coming. We'll reply. I'll put the links and the rituals in the comments as well, so that you have access to them easily. And please like the Inner Fire Women page if you'd like to see more interviews on women stepping into their power, into their leadership, and lighting everyone's inner fire. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Until next time. Mwah.